My deep respect to all coffee lovers, and welcome to my channel, friends. In today's video, I'll tell you about the most unusual coffees in the world. I mean coffee varieties, not drinks, which I've met in my life, but which are almost certainly unfamiliar to ordinary coffee lovers. My name is Sergio. For almost 25 years I live in the world of professional coffee, but I'm still in love with this wonderful drink. Every coffee lover certainly knows the names Arabica and Robusta, but this video is not about them. Now we will talk about new heroes of our time, coffee varieties that very soon seem to become steady trends. So my friends, get your cup of coffee ready and let's move. Eugenioides coffee. Yes, I know, you've never heard about it, right? But this species becomes popular amazingly fast. For example, half of the participants in the last World Barista Championship built their performances on this coffee variety, which means that it is already a trend. Oh, I'm sorry for saying build their performances on this coffee variety, because this is actually not a variety, but a species, the highest rank in the botanical coffee kingdom. Same as Arabica or Canephora, better known as Robusta, or in a sense even more important. Please note, I didn't say the coffee Eugenioides is better or tastier, I said more important. The point is that in terms of genetics, Eugenioides and Robusta are the parents of Arabica. Yes, you understood right, Robusta is one of the genetic parents of Arabica. It is actually a very well-known fact in today's coffee industry. But in detail, we talk about it another time. The caffeine content, which is the key value for the coffee tree, also speaks volumes. If in Eugenioides it was miserly 0.5%, then only thanks to the caffeine power of Robusta up to 3%. Arabica inherited its current average content of 1 to 1.5%. Arabusta coffee. The second unusual coffee in our list is Arabusta. This is what we call a hybrid. Some people confuse hybrids with blends, that is, mixtures made up of different types of coffee beans. However, the creation of blends in most cases seeks to address the price factors, say to cheapen a product, or to improve the taste characteristics of coffee. Conversely, the first purpose of creating hybrids is to improve the factors of agricultural nature. For example, the scientists are trying to combine taste qualities of one of the coffee species, say Arabica, with biological resistance or disease resistance of the other one, for example Robusta. Primarily for this reason, the hybrid of Arabica and Robusta is one of the most difficult, but at the same time one of the most desirable combinations. So the most famous hybrid of Arabica and Robusta is called Arabusta. Fruits of Arabusta coffee were bred and registered in the 70s of the last century by the French scientists who worked in the Ivory Coast. This news caused a great stir at that time, but as it turned out later, one of the specific features of Arabusta is the significant reduction of the yield each next harvesting season. In addition, trees of this variety could grow exclusively in the region where they were bred, that is, only on the plantations of the Ivory Coast. As a result, Arabusta neither gained popularity nor it became widespread in the world. Purpurescence coffee. Purpurescence is a natural genetic variation of the Arabica coffee called Bourbon. Together with Typica, the Bourbon is one of two main lines of Arabica development on our planet. The peculiarity of the Purpurescence coffee clearly derives from its name. The plant is characterized by the purple, deep red color of its foliage, comparing to regular green color leaves. The Purpurescence is a very rare variety of coffee. It produces small beans, and its yield is quite poor. This is why it is not used for commercial purposes at all, at least for now. As a consequence, it is almost impossible for an ordinary coffee lover to taste a cup of Purpurescence coffee somewhere. Liberica coffee. Our next character is Liberica, the only species of coffee which, in addition to Arabica and Robusta, has a commercial application today. albeit so insignificant that the overwhelming majority of coffee lovers have never come across this type of coffee. At the end of the 18th century, this species was discovered in the forests of Liberia, hence comes the name. Liberica cannot boast the most refined taste, to put it mildly, and this is why it accounts for less than 1% of the global coffee production and is scarcely found as a commercial product. Due to the exotic nature of Coffea liberica, the people think that it has a high caffeine content, but in fact the amount of caffeine in Liberica approximates to the caffeine content of Arabica, that is a couple of times less than in Robusta. From the botanical point of view, Liberica differs from other coffee species by an interesting fact. When its fruits ripen, they do not fall from the trees, but stay on the branches, which allows farmers to make their harvesting schedule more flexible. The main country for Liberica is Malaysia. This product represents 90% of all coffee plantations in the country. Despite its taste imperfection, the attitude towards Liberica in Malaysia is quite positive. For example, one of the most famous local coffee chains is called My Liberica Specialty Coffee. Of course, Coffea liberica is far behind its older brothers, Arabica and Robusta. But for all the specificity of its taste, it will undoubtedly, sooner or later, take its place in the orderly ranks of modern coffee marketing. Polysperma coffee. The most exotic coffee that I've ever seen in my life is Polysperma, or Coffea Arabica Polysperma Burke. Burke is the Dutch botanist who was the first to discover it in Indonesia in 1890. After having visited 100 countries, I personally have not come across anything more unusual in the world of coffee botany. So, the Polysperma is not grown on industrial plantations. I encountered this variety in the National Kenyan Institute of Coffee, well known in Africa for its scientific activity. Honestly, at first, I even did not realize that the Polysperma tree was a coffee tree. Its fruits look more like small red tomatoes than coffee. They are bright red and have perfectly round shape, rather than oval regular coffee cherries. I confess I have seen a lot in the world of coffee, and it is rather difficult to surprise me, simply because almost any picture is predictable for me now. But you are in for a shock when, after having used to see fruits with two beans, once upon a time you pick up a cherry and see something that resembles dragon's teeth or a corn cob with lots of beans. The English for Latin Polysperma is many-seeded. In those fruits that we stripped in Kenya, as well as in those that I brought home with me, each cherry contained 8 small beans instead of the standard 2. Coffea Polysperma has a very rough taste. In this condition, it is probably hardly suitable for commercial growing. But realizing the super exotic nature of the polysperm, and hence its commercial attractiveness, farmers are already making attempts to improve the taste of this variety by crossing it with other commercial coffees. I think sooner or later we will definitely hear about it. Coffea Polysperma is too outstanding when it comes to the shape of its berry and its marketing potential. So my friends, we discovered with you the 5 most unusual coffees of the world. I want to thank you for your attention, and I hope you enjoyed this little exotic coffee journey. I know that coffee lovers today are getting completely confused with thousands of new terms in the coffee industry, be that coffee varieties or new drinks appearing every day. But you don't need to be afraid. You need to understand and systemize it for yourself. And I do promise to help you with this. Someone said, our life is a constant and endless diversity. So my friends, I wish you to enjoy the diversity of your coffee, today and every day.